Didn't that blow your mind?
It was awful.
For the first time ever, she just heard Puff Daddy's "Come With Me."
It was awful.
It's fantastic.
It's not. That was terrible.
Yeah. Now
That was so stupid. That
I've
was
said
ridiculous.
yeah for years, and now Yvonne knows why. Every now and then I'll throw that at her.
You do say
yeah.
that. You do. That was really stupid. Did he not? I don't understand how he did that, and people were like, yeah, that's fine.
Not only that, he had Jimmy
like,
Page come in and play it with
Why do
him.
you keep making that stupid sound? Are you okay?
Yeah.
That was so dumb.
That would have been his answer. Are you okay? Yeah.
It was stupid.
Hear my cries, hear my call, lend me your ears.
No. That was dumb.
I'll flip and bite you is my favorite part because it doesn't say flippin' in the unedited version.
Either way, it's stupid.
I had to play it because we've watched 2 movies in the last few days with heroes in them. We watched Turbo Kid and we just watched Dunkirk. And they're both movies that feature heroes. So I wanted to listen to a Puff Daddy song about a hero who has the nerve to sing yeah at a giant iguana that's in a movie called Godzilla from 1996. So
that was crap.
We watched Turbo Kid a couple of days ago.
We did.
And it's a movie that I really like. Michael Ironside's the only actor people would know that's in it. And it's delightful and it's fun and yet it's pretty gory.
It is.
But it's ridiculously gory.
It is.
It reminds me of Kung Fury. I can see some Kung Fury in it.
Yeah.
You know, he just blows people up. Or drops a tank on the guys. That kind of ridiculousness.
Over the top.
Yeah, Turbo Kid definitely has that. I had owned it before. I loaned it to a friend of mine at my old job. I never got it back. That does happen. If you loan out a movie, you have to be prepared to need to buy it again. So I bought it again, and I've waited months to show it to you. And to me, the movie is I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. It's wonderful.
Well, I wouldn't rate it that high, but it's not bad.
She's Apple, though. So if you've seen the movie, I'm the kid in the movie, she's Apple.
Are you saying I'm crazy?
She said it was comfy in his man bubble.
I would say that.
And then she hugged him while he's riding the bike.
I wouldn't say that. I do say things similar to that.
Yeah, because he explains that she's in his personal space, and she just stands there.
We have had that conversation. It's my personal space.
Yeah.
And I like your personal space.
The nice thing with Turbo Kid is that it's set in post-apocalyptic 1997. Doesn't specify where it is, but it's filmed in Quebec. You can see stop signs in the background that are only in French, so that has to be in Quebec. If it was English and French, it could be on a military base in Canada, because it has to be both languages on a military base. But yeah, this one is it's fantastic. And it was a combined effort of Canadian money and New Zealand money. So there's New Zealand actors in it, and Michael Ironside, who is always a bad guy, and he's a wonderful bad guy. He's Zeus in that movie. He's the one with the one eye.
Zeus. Oh, okay. I don't remember
it's
name.
It's and one of the reviews is it's Mad Max on BMXs, and I think that makes sense.
Have I watched Mad Max?
It's on Mad Max Fury Road's on all the time. Mad Max is that's the one where they're driving across the desert.
Oh, I've never actually watched it.
It's an endless chase for an hour and a half.
But I've seen the
where Mad Max
on the desert.
The big difference to me between this and a Mad Max movie is that Mad Max Fury Road should have ended about a half an hour before it did. Turbo Kid doesn't stick around too long. It has a nice little story it tells. It's not an overly long story, and it doesn't try to get into the big ramifications. It didn't have the budget for that, but it's really kind of fun. The idea that if the world had ended in a nuclear war in the 80s, well, what happened? And Turbo Kid's what happens.
I think it's like WALL-E, the Disney movie.
She pointed out the WALL-E
like
comparisons,
WALL-E.
But I've never seen the movie WALL-E.
It's like WALL-E. It's in a post-apocalyptic world, and there's a guy, and he goes scavenging, and he has a house full of his treasures, and then he has a girl, and he needs to kind of save her. It's WALL-E.
I love Apple. She's hilarious.
She's Eve.
I don't know what that means, because I haven't seen WALL-E. I haven't seen
We
WALL-E.
need to watch Wally, and
We
be
do
like,
need
oh,
we do
okay,
need to
yeah.
watch WALL-E.
Yeah,
I
it's
get
Wally.
it. But it's fun
Without
though.
the gore.
It's fun though. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, it is.
What would you give it out of 10?
I'm horrible at rating movies.
That's true.
I say this every time.
7?
Probably.
7. Now, the apocalypse in Turbo Kid, from that we go to Dunkirk, which is a real World War II story told using fictional characters, but that was an amazing movie.
Historical fiction.
That was an amazing movie.
That was a very good movie.
Christopher Nolan directs, and you can tell when you see the cast.
I like historical movies, though.
I like historical movies, too. I love World War II movies. Now, we did review Darkest Hour.
I liked that movie, too.
Months ago on this channel. But we wanted to see Dunkirk. We just never got to see it in the theater.
We don't have enough time.
We really don't.
We don't have...
We really don't.
We have no
time.
time.
I bought Thor Fraggle Rock quite a while ago, and we haven't watched it yet.
We have so many movies we haven't been able to watch.
I know.
We have movies that we got because patrons requested we review them, and we haven't watched them yet. So.
Yep. Call Me By Your Name is sitting right over there. We bought that specifically because it was a patron request from my Patreon account, which is connected to Hockey Guy, and sort of through here, although I don't connect it in the signature, and I should. The description for each video. But anyways.
It was a hard movie to find, too.
It was a hard movie to find. It was not cheap. And we haven't watched it yet, even though we had a request to watch it quite a while ago.
Yeah. I'll have to message. I was going to message him, say, I finally got the movie.
Yeah, we have it. We have it. But,
no spare
I mean,
time.
Turbo Kid I've wanted to watch with her since I met her a while ago, so we just got to watching that. We just got around to watching that
we met, which was a little bit ago. We have a ton of movies.
But Dunkirk...
I have a ton of movies I've wanted you to watch.
Dunkirk, the thing with the movie, and this is the thing for me with a historical movie, when I know how it ends before I watch it, and I'm still really emotionally invested in what happens, that tells me it's a good movie. And Saving Private Ryan does that too.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
That's an amazing movie. Inglourious Bastards is good too, although it's not really historically accurate. It's just fun.
I haven't watched that one.
I'm gonna try that one with you. It's a Quentin Tarantino World War II movie.
Okay, gotcha.
Where they have this plan to kill Hitler and everybody who's the big SS guys.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I know how that's gonna end. And then I was completely wrong. And I was like, okay, this is completely off the rails, and I love it. I love it. Brad Pitt's performance in Inglourious Bastards is one of the most amazing things in the history of movies, too. So, but in this movie, we get nice understated performances, and I would have liked more Tom Hardy in this movie. One of my man crushes. And he's a pilot in this, and you don't even know through most of the movie it's Tom Hardy.
Well, because he has the gear on.
Well, I know, but it's kind of hard to follow parts of it. And then there's a part where it's in the dark, and you're like, wait a minute, when is this?
I was confused.
And then they tell you later, which it has a nice payoff. They didn't go with the payoff. They didn't go where I thought they would. I thought that Cillian Murphy would run into somebody that he'd abandoned, and I thought, oh boy, and it didn't happen. But there was some nice emotional moments. I didn't think it got cheap and sentimental too much. Amazing. The score is amazing. Hans Zimmer is one of the most amazing performers of soundtracks ever. I would put him right up with John Williams, who does the Star Wars movies. And John Williams has done a bunch of other scores as well, but Hans Zimmer, my God, he did the score as well for Inception, which is wonderful, and that's why Cillian Murphy and Tom Hardy are in this, because they work with Christopher Nolan a lot. Cillian Murphy's in one of the Batmans, Tom Hardy's Bane in one of the Batmans. It's the crappy Batman, and he's the Bane that speaks like this. I can't understand him. It's really distracting.
All right.
Over Batman, and you're like, I don't know what he said. He turns into Mushmouth, and you're just sort of okay. I think it would have been more entertaining if he'd had a Swedish accent and been doing that, because then you could have pretended he was a Swedish chef. Because Batman, Dark Knight Rises is just awful.
Okay.
So, but this movie was excellent, and again, and I'm generous with my ratings. I would probably go with a 9 on this one. This was amazing.
Yeah.
So well done.
It was a good movie.
She'll give it a 7 because that's what she does. Right?
You're a brat.
It's true, though.
Shannon's a brat. Actually, I would have rated it higher, but you know.
Okay, so what would you have rated it? 7.5? Uh-huh, yeah.
That was a really crappy song.
Uh-huh, yeah.
To go with a crappy video that looked like it was an expensive crappy video.
It was Puff Daddy. You better believe it was an expensive crappy
stupid.
video. That was from the Godzilla soundtrack from 1997 or 98 or whatever year it was.
I don't know. That was really
It's Iguana
stupid.
Godzilla.
It was really stupid.
It's a giant iguana. So, nukes make giant iguanas,
There's
and then...
been a lot of Godzilla movies, too.
That's because they're crap.
Why
and
do
they're
they
easy
keep
to make.
redo them?
Well, actually, after that 1997 Godzilla came out, the Japanese made a Godzilla movie right after that showed the real Godzilla fighting the iguana Godzilla, which I thought was kind of funny. Because they were not happy with that movie either. They're like, that's not Godzilla. You know, Godzilla's a dinosaur that breathes fire. So, you know, I mean, if they'd done a Mothra movie, maybe, but, you know, what can you do?
All right.
But what would you give Dunkirk?
Probably an 8.5.
8.5. Wow, that's Oscar worthy. I do think this
Dork.
movie should have had an Oscar or two. I'm kind of surprised it didn't. I know it had for the score. I think it had for editing and for the music, but that's just a cop out. I get tired of movies that are really good and get really solid fan reactions, ending up with awards for editing or music. Well, they got to give some boring old fart movie the best picture. And it's like they plan it that way. Like, well, this was really good, so we can't give it a best picture. Because, you know, last time we did that, it was Braveheart, and nobody liked that after. So we're not going to do that again.
Braveheart.
I like Braveheart, too. I saw it 3 times in the theater. But anytime you talk about bad movies that won best picture, Braveheart tops the list.
How is Braveheart a bad movie?
Because
I
it
like
wasn't.
that movie.
It wasn't a boring piece of crap. Well, and Shakespeare in Love is up there as one of the worst, best movies ever. And I agree with that. Shakespeare in Love is... Oh, Shakespeare in Love. Okay. Shakespeare in Love, I liked the first time I watched it. And then my ex and I got together and she made me watch it a bunch.
I don't
And
think I've ever watched that one.
It's Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh,
where
that's enough. Yeah.
Gwyneth
Gotcha.
Paltrow has to dress like a dude because she wants to act in a Shakespeare play and she meets the real Shakespeare. And back then, women didn't act.
Right.
So the whole movie is basically just Gwyneth Paltrow pretending she's a boy, which is easy enough for her. And then a bunch of sex scenes that are really jarring and out of place. Because it's Gwyneth Paltrow, so nobody wants to see that. So.
All right.
Yeah. But, yeah, Turbo Kid, I would give a high recommendation to people who like the old 80s style. It had an 80s soundtrack, 80s special effects, 80s visual effects, and he even has a power glove. So the power glove alone, the power glove was pretty awesome. And there's a robot in it. I won't spoil it. There's a robot in it, and their life is measured in hearts. You can tell how much life they've got left by how many hearts they've got. And I remember the first time I saw that, I cheered. I was like, this is amazing. It's Zelda. It's a Zelda robot. So, kind of a fun movie. And Dunkirk didn't have robots in it, which was good because it wouldn't be historically accurate. I was reading through some reviews for Dunkirk tonight, and there was a movie review where they said that there was no women in the movie. Women didn't fight in World War II. There's no point.
Since it's in the water. If it was on the land, then there could be women.
But there wouldn't have been. That's
what I mean. In the water, there wouldn't be women.
I don't rail against being politically correct, but when I see people looking at a movie and going, "Oh, there's no women in this," it'd be like saying, "Well, all the slaves in that movie were black." Well, that's the way it was historically. You can't change history just because. Well, you got to get women in there. Why? Does one of the general need to be Scarlett Johansson? And then everybody go, "Oh, look that's fantastic. That's a progressive World War II movie." Give me a break. They were all dudes. Because I'm old enough to remember when women were fighting to get into the military. And then they get in there, and then they were fighting to be in war zones. When I was hearing generals on TV and different news channels saying, you can't have a woman in a war zone, she can't fight. She's not physically capable of doing it. And if that was in my time and my lifetime, there's no way in World War II there were women on the out in Dunkirk, other than in the city itself. But
Right,
you're not
that's
going to
what I
see
mean,
people.
if you're
They're not
in
going to
the
show
land.
like Allied troops. Can I have a baguette? Like, you're not going to see like, ooh, monsieur, you want a baguette? There's none of that crap because it didn't happen. Well, there wasn't.
I know.
Critics look for almost anything to pick on with a movie. And you know, I'm surprised Hidden Figures you didn't hear. There's no guys in this. Why wasn't one of them a guy? It's all women. It's all about being politically correct. You could make a Terry Fox movie and somewhere somebody would go, this whole he's running with one leg thing. There's no way. Back in the 80s, you couldn't do that. That's bionic. And you'd try to point out to him that he's an idiot, and then he'd tell you you're being PC.
What on earth are you talking about?
I'm talking about
You're just like going off on something
the
completely
desperate
random.
need
No,
of critics
we
to
don't.
find everything wrong with a movie, even when there isn't something wrong with it.
But you're going to ridiculous lengths here.
So are they saying that there was no women in this movie? It's ridiculous. There were women at the end. You pointed out there was women at the end, and
There was
there was
a
women at the
woman.
end. No,
And I said there's a woman, and
Yeah.
then when they got to the bigger ships, there were women.
then there was the Dutch women.
Yes.
And those Dutch women, I'm guessing a few of them, you could have handed them guns and they would have fought off the Germans themselves.
Of course they did. Women did do that,
I
but
know.
again, not on the water.
No.
At their homes.
And it's one of those things. It's a pet peeve I have. When I read a review for a movie and it's like, seriously? That's your criticism. Did you just go into this movie with your arms folded saying, I won't enjoy this and I'm going to find something wrong with it just so I can bitch? Because that's what it seems like to me. I don't do that. I don't know. You guys go through the reviews on this channel and I am very, very... I'm almost Homer Simpson when he's a food critic and he's giving 5 thumbs up. Like, I'm very generous with movies because I understand what they're trying to do. You know, I get it. I get what they're trying to do, and I understand that not everybody's perfect when they make a movie. Except Child's Play. Child's Play's crap. And Star Trek V. That's garbage. That should have been thrown on
There's
the
a
waste
lot of
pile.
crappy movies, Shannon.
I know, I'm just saying that when we review one on the channel, I usually try to make sure I pick ones that I think you'll enjoy. And you usually try to pick ones that you think I will enjoy. And then, as a result, usually our reviews are pretty positive. My reviews are pretty positive. the horror movies, my reviews are more positive than yours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because some of those movies are kind of crappy.
They're not.
They are.
We haven't watched Wes Craven's New Nightmare yet. We have to watch that one.
Mm-hmm.
Wes Craven's New Nightmare is really good. Because it's not part of the Freddy. It's still Freddy, but it's not Freddy. It's different. And we have to watch Jason X, where it's Jason in space.
Oh, that sounds so stupid.
It's a gloriously stupid movie.
Sounds so dumb.
It's really stupid and awesome. And it's right after Jason goes to hell, so you're like, wait a minute. Why is he in space? And you realize, for Vegas reasons. That's my excuse for everything now.
I know it is.
You know, Shannon, why didn't you clean up our room? Vegas reasons. So, see, and people think I'm kidding.
I know they do.
Anyways, I'd like to welcome a bunch of new subscribers to this channel. This is fun. I am wearing hockey gear. I don't always wear hockey gear for these videos.
Aren't you hot?
Yeah, I'm probably boiling.
It's kind of toasty in here.
I don't know. I can't feel anything
It was
below
like
my legs.
25 degrees today.
It was 26
It's so hot.
or 27. But tomorrow's supposed to be 29, so it's
Ugh.
cool compared to tomorrow. So, and that's Celsius, not Fahrenheit. We're in Canada, but it's not that cold.
Yeah, it's not hot if it's not 25.
Well, people might
Fahrenheit?
think if we're in
We're
Canada that
We're
we think 25
Canadian.
degrees is really
sure,
hot.
it's below freezing.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
it's
really hot
hot.
out there, eh? I almost had to take off my third sweater out there today.
I mean,
Jeez.
yeah, I know compared to other places it doesn't get hot. Like,
right.
we don't have air conditioning or anything like that.
No.
Most people don't have air conditioning. Actually, I don't know anybody that has air conditioning in their house.
It's just so bloody expensive.
For using it for July.
Just in general, it's expensive.
It is, but you don't have it.
Just like the budget for Dunkirk. It was $100 million, and they made $500 million worldwide, so they made a healthy profit on this.
That was good segue there.
Christopher Nolan should make more movies like that are like this. More war movies would be good for Christopher Nolan. I think he's got a, because I honestly didn't know that I could handle another war movie, and this one was really good. So, anything else to add?
I don't think so.
No. So you're just yeah. You're ready to.
That was stupid.
It's funny because
Stupid music.
I've said it since I met her. She had no idea what it meant, and now she knows.
Well, I knew it was from some music.
And
I think you told me who.
But
yeah. I couldn't tell you anything that what's his face sings.
What's his face? His name is P Diddy Diddy Puff Daddy Puff Diddy Puff Diddy Diddy Dum Diddy 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 Doo. He changes his name every 6 months, so I don't really pay attention anymore.
Stupid. I don't listen to that kind of music because I think it's crap.
Because he was Sean Combs, Sean Puffy Combs, Puff Daddy, P Diddy Diddy. Do a Diddy Diddy Dum Diddy Doo has got to be coming sooner or later. I should tweet him and ask him if he can change his name to that. Why not?
No.
It's a great song.
It's dumb.
It's a great song. All right. Thank you guys very much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way around and you're like, what in the hell are these guys talking about?
Yeah, I keep yawning. That would be weird if somebody just randomly going through the internet and finding this, be like, hey, yeah, let's watch this.
That's how the hockey guy got to 38,000.
I know, but the hockey guy, you actually have intelligent conversations with yourself.
Are you saying this isn't an intelligent conversation?
Nope. Not even close.
I disagree. You know what? Christopher Nolan needs to cover the War of 1812.
Oh, God. Shannon.
He needs to cover the 20 years that was the War of 1812.
Shannon, don't start that. No.
It went on for 20 years.
They're going to start messaging me again. They do. Frequently.
Because it's true. That's the war they don't want to tell you about.
Who doesn't want to tell you about?
Them, they, the dark net. The dark net of the dark web with the interwebs and the mingles. With all of its darkness.
Boys can tell you about the War of 1812.
Yeah, it went on for 20 years.
They learned about the War of 1812 from arrogant worms.
No. No, their version is cute and everything, but it went on for way longer than people think because of the Greeks.
No.
Yes.
Lord.
Yes.
Stop it. Okay. You can end this video now.
All right. Christopher Nolan, if you're watching this, get in contact with me. We'll discuss the War of 1812 movie. It's going to be great. And if anybody else wants to do a Kickstarter for a War of 1812 movie performed by me and performed by her, we can make our own War of 1812 movie here using miniatures. We need a budget of about $50-60 million.
Holy crap.
Well, because I want Tom Cruise in it.
Why?
Because if we have Tom Cruise in it, it's guaranteed to get picked up by Universal.
No.
Yes.
No,
so there you go.
Crazy.
Exactly. He's the only actor who will show up for a movie about 1812 with miniatures.
No, okay, can we stop this video now?
Watch Dunkirk if you haven't seen it already. It's fantastic. And you married me, so I don't know what you're complaining about. She did it on purpose, too.